goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Puck It with Jo. Hey guys, happy Tuesday, best day of the week. The NHL, the puck is dropping on North American soil today, and I can hardly wait for these games to kick off. Now we've got 3 games. I'm Jo of SportsGrid over here on SportsGrid TV, and we're going to break down all of these games. I also want to talk a couple of futures with you guys. I think there's still an ability to jump in some of these markets. Now, I want to update you on the Stanley Cup odds. We've got the Edmonton Oilers still coming in as a favorite at plus 850, and this is a pretty decent price here for the Edmonton Oilers. You know we're going to lose value as soon as Connor McDavid hits that ice and they get their first win. I do think he is going to be so determined this season to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals and hoist that cup this year. He's going to be dangerous. So looking at the Edmonton Oilers at plus 850, I do think is a solid way. Now, the Florida Panthers looking to repeat are coming in at plus 1,000, and I just can't get there with them. They've lost some key pieces, especially on that power play. No more Brandon Montour is huge for this team, and I do think it's really going to affect them this season. So I'm not high on the Florida Panthers, even though I think they have a fantastic season. We know that core is still together, and I love this team offensively, especially and in goal. When we look at the New Jersey Devils, I think they are the team if you're looking for a long shot. The New Jersey Devils coming in here at plus 1,100 to hoist the Stanley Cup. We saw them just over in Prague. They were able to win those 2 games versus the Buffalo Sabres. And I hear everyone selling off on the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are a team I think can make the playoffs. Yes, they lost those first 2 games, but you look here at the New Jersey Devils and they're just that good. They now have Jacob Markstrom from Calgary in goal. And Jack Hughes, I'm predicting for a huge season. Now, his 100 points was getting you plus money before they kicked off with those games. You have to take him for 110 plus points now on the season. I still love that market. It's coming in right around that plus 300 mark. So Jack Hughes and the New Jersey Devils for 110 plus points. Now, if he's able to do this, you guys, he is going to make Devils franchise history for a first player to go over those 100 points in a season. I do think he will have that breakout season this year. Then we got Colorado, Dallas, and the Rangers. I think the Rangers are a nice long shot as well. The Rangers definitely have the ability, and I think we're going to see some big trades between these teams before the trade deadlines hit. Now, player points to look at. We're going to talk about one of those players, Robert Thomas here of the St. Louis Blues. I do think you look at him for his points to the over 90 plus. He had it right around the 80s last season, and I do think he's looking to make some kind of history there for the St. Louis Blues with 2 seasons back to back of that 80 plus points. We also have a couple other ones, and let me just find them, see if they haven't taken them off here over on FanDuel. So everything I'm looking at, and there's so many awesome things that we can bet on this season. We have first period, second period player props that we're able to jump into. So if we're looking at Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, for him for 42 plus goals to break Wayne Gretzky's record, you guys, it's coming in at plus 1,000. He didn't hit 42 goals last season, but looking at their schedule, he has every ability. Another one I'm really high on is Connor McDavid to record 20 plus points in his first 10 games. It's coming in at plus 160. I know we're not getting as much value there, but I do think in those first 10 games, Connor McDavid can get a hat trick in one of them. We know he's able to get those assists, and I think those goals come rolling in as well. So him to record a hat trick in the first 10 games also is coming in at plus 450. So those are a couple of future markets. You could look at Austin Matthews as well. I'm not completely sold on Austin Matthews with the Toronto Maple Leafs just because he is banged up right now. Connor Bedard, though, interesting look of the Chicago Blackhawks. We look at Connor Bedard, Tyler Bertuzzi has been added there, and I do think their connection should be good if they're on the same line. Now, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces with Chicago to see where everyone really sits. So we'll see what happens, but I do think for him to record a hat trick in the first 10 games, that is quite possible. We know Connor Bedard is the main guy offensively out there for the Chicago Blackhawks, so that's coming in at plus 750. I think he comes out on fire. Okay, you guys, let's look at today's games. Otherwise, we're going to be talking Nathan MacKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche, and the list will just go on. Just a shout out to everyone that is joining and watching. Again, remember, you can join us over on X on SportsGrid TV. So we are here daily, every day, you guys. Noon Eastern, we'll go over all of these games and all of the picks. So let's jump into the first one kicking off today. We have an early game. This game is actually at, let me just double check the time. It's so confusing. 4:40 Eastern in Seattle, the St. Louis Blues taking on the Seattle Kraken. Now, interesting to see them playing this one so early, especially when you look at Seattle's 3 hours behind. So great for you guys out on the East Coast. Kind of not so great for you if you're a Seattle fan wanting to go to the game. I guess you're taking the day off. Current lines over on FanDuel, you guys. We have the St. Louis Blues coming in at plus 132. We then see the Seattle Kraken at minus 160 and the total sitting at 5.5. You're getting juiced to the over 5.5 at minus 140, the under coming in at plus 114. You know, this game could go either way with that total. I was leaning at first to the under with it because the Seattle Kraken, they just struggle to put the points on the board. Jared McCann is day to day in this matchup, but then you start looking at Jordan Binnington as he starts the season. Jordan Binnington to start the season is one of those goaltenders that is a little shaky out there. So that does give me concern. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So that does give me concern with how shaky he can come out. Slower starts to start the season. Around midseason, you really can trust Jordan Binnington to stand on his head out there in games. But with Seattle's lack of offense, even though they have added new elements out here, I wonder with this total. 5.5, I won't lay the minus 140 on. I think if you're looking to bet that total, it's a tricky number at 5.5. You look at the additions here as well, and you've got to wonder who's going to be in net. So currently we have Jordan Binnington expected for the St. Louis Blues, and then Philip Grubauer expected for the Seattle Kraken. Now, Joey Daccord could come in, and Grubauer at home also had those struggles on the season last year, you guys. So if it's Grubauer and if it's Binnington, it should push to that over. But at minus 140, there's no value for me. The Seattle Kraken really need to step up this season offensively and find the back of the net. Now, they have added some key players out there. Chandler Stevenson from the Panthers was added offensively, and Brandon Montour from the Florida Panthers was added. We know Brandon Montour is a difference maker, and I think his loss for Florida is going to be felt, especially on that power play, and Seattle should be able to capitalize on his skills out there on the ice. So I do think the Seattle team will be stronger with Stevenson and Montour, especially on the power play in those situations. So I'm staying off a total, but in this first matchup here, I know it's Seattle's home opener. I've got to go with the St. Louis Blues to be able to pull off the win. This is a team that was so strong on the road last season, and they've actually dominated this matchup versus the Seattle Kraken. They've won, I believe, they're 7-2. In the last 9 meetings, and they swept the Kraken last season, winning all 3 of those games. So I think this game here, the St. Louis Blues, the plus money you can get, again, that plus money coming in at plus 132 is where you should go. Now, there's a couple other things that you can look at betting if you don't want to just take a straight up winner in this one. They also added center Dylan Holloway. Great pickup for them. Remember, he was with the Edmonton Oilers. I think he's impactful right out of the gate for this team. You can look at Dylan Holloway for the anytime goal. Great value. It's coming in at plus 500 on these player props, you guys. I think, especially to start the season in hockey, put a quarter unit on player props that you are liking out there. We got to see the flow, and we got to see how these teams come out with these lines preseason. You guys, I don't weigh much into preseason. There are some stats you can look at, and if teams looked an absolute mess out there in preseason, but we're not getting the best of them in those cases. Now, as for the Seattle Kraken, I do think Brandon Montour, again, makes an impact. His first game out here for Seattle, you know, these players want to prove themselves. So his anytime goal coming in at plus 550. You could look at him for the point tonight as well. Both of these guys actually for the point. And Robert Thomas, I touched on him. I will take him on the season for the 90 plus points for the St. Louis Blues. That was a plus 340, you guys. So he led the Blues last season with 86 points, 26 goals, and 60 assists. I would look at his points tonight as well. He's going to have I think he's going to have a big season. And I think Joey Daccord of the Seattle Kraken, the goaltender, I think he's in for a big season as well. So watch those players out there, you guys. Jared McCann, we'll see if he gets out on the ice tonight. Now, remember, he was one of the catalysts for the offense last season, but there wasn't many others. So we're hoping here there's big changes with the coaching staff changing as well. So we've got Bylsma stepping up as their head coach. Now, he did win a cup back with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was in 2009. So there should be step ups. Let's talk the next game. I am so glad NHL is back as well. Let's go, you guys. Let's talk the next game. The Boston Bruins taking on the Florida Panthers. Okay, who's going to win this? This one is shaking out to be an epic game tonight. Now, Boston, so physical. We know this defense loves to lead the way. Jeremy Swayman did get his 8-year contract now because he held out, and he's one of those players that will hold out. Didn't play in any preseason, and I don't blame him. He needed to get paid his money. Now, Korpisalo is a backup goaltender for the Boston Bruins. Now, he was with the Ottawa Senators. Before he was with the Ottawa Senators, I loved what we saw out of him. I thought he had a bad season with Ottawa, and I'm looking for him to be able to come out strong this season. So I'm not worried about who is in net for Swayman or for the Bruins, Swayman or Korpisalo. I think they'll flip back and forth in a lot of these games, to be honest with you guys. We'll see who is the goaltender that they trust more. I would guess it would be Swayman, but I'm looking for Korpisalo to really step up. Now, the Bruins in regular season have every opportunity to beat the Florida Panthers. They've shown us they can. It's the playoffs that the Boston Bruins really struggle against the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers will be hoisting their banner tonight. This is a fantastic night for them out there on the ice. And, you know, emotions are going to be high. Now, I don't think that will take away from what they're going to do out there on the ice tonight. But you guys, let's look at the lines, and then I'll jump into what I'm liking. So current lines over on FanDuel, we got the Boston Bruins coming in at plus 128, the Florida Panthers at minus 154. You know I won't lay that much juice, and we got a total of 5.5. The juice on the over 5.5 has ticked up. It's at minus 130. I still do think you look at this one over. Yes, Boston's going to want to play a physical game. Boston does not want to get into a firing fight with the Florida Panthers, but I do think they're strung into that game. That being said, I still think Boston can get the win. I am looking for the Boston Bruins to come out so strong in this matchup today. This is absolute revenge. The Florida Panthers kicked them out of the playoffs, and the Florida Panthers went on to win that Stanley Cup. My problem with the Florida Panthers is those moving pieces that have left this team. Yes, we do have Sam Reinhart. We have Matthew Tkachuk, but we lost Montour. We also lost Vladimir Tarasenko, huge loss for them. Vladimir Tarasenko going to Detroit, and then Brandon Montour, like we talked about, going to the Seattle Kraken, both in free agency. So I look at this, and I really do think these two players, hugely impactful for the Florida Panthers. You have chips on the shoulder for the Boston Bruins. They've added some great players, Elias Lindholm from Vancouver and Zadorov from Vancouver as well. Great defenseman. He's going to be out there hunting on the ice. That is for sure. He'll be hunting the Panthers in this one. So I think this matchup, I got to take the plus money with the Boston Bruins. That's coming in again at plus 128. It was plus 130 earlier in the day. So we're losing value on that. But I do think if you're worried, if you think this is a 4-3 style game, which I do believe it is, I believe one of these teams wins 4-3. The Boston Bruins team total over 2.5. You can hit at minus 116. So you got to lay juice there. I'm going to go with both of those. I'm also going to take them straight up on the money line at plus 130. Now, I do think this game starts off hard and fast. And because I'm thinking hard and fast, the first period over 1.5, you guys were getting that at minus 112. Do I think both teams can score? This is something I encourage you guys to look at. If you're looking at the first period to the over, the books also give you both teams to score in the first period. Now, it's a risky bet if you don't trust one of their offenses, but when you trust both of the offenses, and I think the Bruins offense is going to click right away out here, looking at both teams to score, it's coming in at plus 190. So you're getting so much value over the over 1.5 at minus 112. That's something I'm looking at. You can't deny Pasta out there on the ice. David Pastrnak coming in for the anytime goal, coming in at plus 130 today. I do think he can find the back of the net. Now, you look at Sam Reinhart. I think Sam Reinhart is going to be phenomenal. We know he lit up the net on the power play last season, and I think he goes back to doing the same. I think the Florida Panthers really will pick up where they left off, and this team is strong, but I think just those couple of moving pieces that have left this team, it's going to hurt them. But players like Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk, we're still going to see the production out of them. So give me Sam Reinhart for the anytime goal at plus 150. Matthew Tkachuk, you can look at his shots on goal. We've got 4+ shots on goal for Matthew Tkachuk coming in at plus 108. Barkov, Barkov is going to be playing hard out there, but this is where I'm going with this. It's Boston for me. It's Pasta for a goal. Matthew Tkachuk for his 4+ shots on goal. Sam Reinhart for the goal because I think he gets it on the power play. And the first period over 1.5 and both teams to score in the first period. You guys, how many bets could I have on this Tuesday? I tell you, I was so excited when these first period player props came out as well. So let's have a look at those. I wanted to tell you guys about those over on FanDuel. I saw them yesterday, and it took a lot for me not to bet a lot of these. Yesterday, player period props is the tab. So you can look at first period, anytime goal score, second period, anytime goal score, third period, anytime goal score. And I love this because when we look at certain teams, there's someone who's always clutch in that third period, especially if the team is down, like the Florida Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk is one of those players. I don't know how many late-minute goals. Brandon Montour also did it for the Florida Panthers. But you look at the first period out here, and I do think it's Sam Reinhart that comes out and makes that statement here. For the Florida Panthers, he's coming in at plus 600. Like I told you guys, I believe in both teams to score in the first period. If I'm looking for Boston to score in the first period, and I love Pasta, it's Pastrnak to come in and get that anytime goal again, plus 600. So that is what I am liking in that one, you guys. It's going to be a great one. The Florida Panthers head off on the road after this home opener. So, they are going to be motivated as well, but I can't feel it here. I think Boston pulls the upset. The last one, and you guys, every single day we will be talking all of these games here. So the show will start every day at noon Eastern. It will end depending on when I stop talking. So the Chicago Blackhawks and the Utah Hockey Club. The Utah Hockey Club, if you don't know, if you haven't heard this name, it's because the Arizona Coyotes moved to Utah. So the Utah Hockey Club, hopefully they change this name away from the Hockey Club for maybe some point this season, next season, but we'll live with it. They will be kicking off tonight. So this is a late game, 10:10 Eastern. We have a total of 6.5. Everyone expecting this one to be pawn hockey. The total is juiced to the under, though, minus 130, plus 106 to the over. And when we look at this, Utah is a favorite. Now, this line keeps moving, you guys. I looked at it yesterday, and it was right around that minus 164 mark. I thought it was too highly juiced at that point. Now, minus 172. I still think it's too highly juiced, of course. And we got plus 142 here for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, a lot of people expecting to see out of both of these teams what they saw in the preseason. We did see Utah look strong in the preseason, and we saw Chicago struggle. They went 1-5-1 in the preseason, and Utah came out nice and strong 5-2. I love players on both of these teams, and I think we do see a step up for these teams to come out and get the goals, especially versus each other. Peter Maratz is expected in net for the Chicago Blackhawks and Connor Ingram here for the Utah Hockey Club. You've got to think with this new franchise, new arena, that Utah should be able to get the win. But you guys, that juice is gross. I don't want to lay the puck line. in a first game here, laying that 1.5. It just doesn't interest me in this matchup. But I think looking at some player props, looking at the first period to be a higher scoring one instead of laying the juice on the full, or actually we're laying the juice on the under. Now as that moved from a 5.5, I believe it was at, but I do think the first period goes over 1.5 goals. That's coming in at -122. I'd rather take that than Utah to come out and get the straight up win. I do think they have more depth and more offensive depth, especially. You look at the Chicago Blackhawks, and yes, I added Tyler Bertuzzi from the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've got Connor Bedard. I think with them and Taravanen, the points are coming. The goals are coming. Connor Bedard, like I said, I'm high on him this season. I just struggle to see them getting the win. First game out here on the road with how messy preseason looked, because I think there's a lot of juggling coming out here. I'm going to look at Tyler Bertuzzi for the anytime goal. We know he can score. He's plus 310. I believe he's going to be on that same line with Connor Bedard at some point tonight. Connor Bedard coming in at plus 175 for that anytime goal. I think they play nicely off of each other. On the other side of the puck, though, is where I feel the most confident. Looking at the Utah players, Clayton Keller, someone we can all trust in. I love what we've seen out of Clayton Keller last season. This season, I think he's in for an explosion. If you want to look for his points to the over this season, I love it. He's coming in tonight at plus 135. He just needs to stay healthy for that anytime goal. So I'm looking high on Clayton Keller for the season and tonight. And then Logan Cooley, the offensive defenseman. You know I love this kid and what he brings to the ice. He's such a strong, dominant player out there. I'm taking Logan Cooley for the anytime goal. He's coming in at plus 290. So great plus money there, you guys. It's going to be a fantastic matchup on the ice between these two teams. I just can't get behind the juice you got to lay on Utah, but I do think they get the win. And yeah, that total moved from a 6 at -120 to the over 2. That 6.5 juiced to the under at -130. That is why I was looking at that first period over 1.5 at -122. I think you can definitely look at the full game, though, to the over. Well, the dogs are barking in my house. I don't know if you hear it, but I am so happy to be back here with Pocket with Jo. I'm so glad that you guys are joining me. We will again be here on the daily at 10 o'clock Eastern. We got some Florida Panthers in 60. Regulation bets are definitely something I like. So it's interesting to look at them. You're getting more value, especially if you're looking at Utah here. You could look at Utah in regulation to be able to get the win. This game isn't sitting right with me, though. Just grabbing Utah straight up. I like those props way better. But you guys, daily, Pocket with Jo here on SportsGrid TV. Make sure you tune in and join. I'm going to start trying to get some picks up that I can put on screen for you guys so that you don't have to take notes constantly, and I'll try to put them at the end of the video as we finish up or the live stream here. So guys, all the best in all of your bets. Let's make some freaking money out there on the ice tonight. I will see you at noon Eastern tomorrow. Bye, guys.